What is up, everybody? Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Hello Future Hackathon Ascension closing ceremony. Over the past few months, builders across the world came together to build real products on Hedera, from AI and agents to DeFi and tokenization, sustainability, edge, and Internet of Things, infrastructure, open track, and legacy builders. You're going to hear from the first prize winners across these 6 tracks today. The Ascension Hackathon in total had $150,000 in prizes. Ed Marquez is going to join us here, head of DevRel at Hedera, in just a bit, and I'm sure he's going to give you a ton of details about what exactly happened and kind of the turnout. But today is about celebrating execution of the builders that we have here. So that being said, I'm going to hop right in to give you an idea of what the format's going to look like here. These first place winners across each track, we're going to be talking about kind of a brief overview, problem, and solution of what they've built, their experience building on Hedera, and what they are most excited about moving forward. Thank you to Hedera and all constituents for helping to put amazing hackathons like this together. But I'm going to hop in, and I guess we're going to start here with, I guess, one of the more big topics since the ChatGPT moment a couple of years ago, agentic AI, and agents track. The first place winner comes from Linksify. So they built a product which is called Keyring. And Kevin, I would love if you can kick us off here and give us a quick overview of Keyring, the problem that you're solving. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. So this idea stemmed out of a need of ours when we introduced our Links token. In many cases, the way to handle things is to make, in terms of trust, a lot of times is to make things immutable, right? But that can be a problem with earlier projects, or links will never be able to be immutable because there's a DAO behind it that can change ratios and underlying tokens and so forth. So we wanted to instill more trust in the community of broad people that didn't know us, and that's how we came to Keyring as the solution. Essentially a way to extend the multi-sig functionality into something that's more user-friendly, usable, and has less potential issues like, passive signers that could just lock you out of being able to do operations like updating your contract and so forth. And so that's how we came to it. And yeah.
So I would love if you could, because I know I love when I see people that I recognize up here. And Kevin, I definitely recognize you from some of these hackathons. So it's awesome to see the kind of the continuation of these builds. You mentioned kind of user experience and taking multi-sig to kind of the next level of user experience, making it just much more seamless. How important do you think that that's going to be? I guess as a sidebar, I think user experience and really abstracting away anything related to complexity is like super important to actually, mass adoption of crypto and blockchain and AI. But I want to hear from you, like where you think, why you think UX is kind of just that important.
Yeah, I mean, in general, UX is going to be really important to allow, builders on a more abstracted way to be able to access these different tools and so forth. Specifically with multi-sig, in our case, there are also just user problems that you can experience, from that. So what we did in this track was we developed agentic signers, and these are agents that can act as signers and essentially fill those gaps when perhaps your users are more passive on your threshold list, or in other cases where you just need that extra check and validation, to help your users see what the agent can see by analyzing the transactions that are actually coming through, being able to actually read the bytecode and output what it is that it's seeing there. I mean, that's something that even I, as a signer, probably wouldn't go so far, right? You can make misleading transactions that are actually doing something else, and that's where the agentic signer can kind of bring some more stability to the whole experience.
I know one of the things here within your model that you have here is transparency, and I think most of you guys are definitely into the tech space, and you see what's going on. I'm kind of the opinion that like authenticity is like one of the scarcest assets on the planet. So I think transparency in a way that's easy to understand what you're looking at is going to be kind of crucial as a society, not just blockchain, but just kind of as a society. And what do you think real-time visibility, like, I don't even think we really understand what real-time visibility is going to look like in the future when we're analyzing data and analyzing these blockchains and stuff. But from your guys' standpoint, as especially when we have agentic signers, like, you really need to have that transparency. And you need to be able to, like you said, be able to like dig back into the data to see kind of the provenance aspect there too. I would love if you can kind of just touch base on that briefly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think overall there's going to be this kind of orchestration that's going to need to happen between the agents, AI, and then the on-chain, right? Being able to put those transactions into an auditable topic. And so we utilized HCS2 to really, like, you know, capture all of that along the flow. And then we relay that into the user's dashboard. So the signers and the projects, both sides of our product, have a dashboard in which they can really see, you know, what's going on both ends of that. And yeah, I think I'm seeing more and more apps are using agents along with that transparency layer, which is large part due to HCS itself, just the capability of using Hedera agent kit with HCS. I mean, it's pretty amazing. This is not the first time we've been using that combination, and it's a winning combination, I think.
So I would love if you could maybe touch base on that. We have 3 minutes left with you. So I want to move into what the experience was like building on Hedera. And you know, you're in a unique position because you've been building on Hedera for a while now, and you've really kind of, for those of you guys that have been building on Hedera for a while, you get to kind of see the evolution of what some of the tooling looks like and how it just becomes much easier to utilize it. When you mentioned HCS, so Hedera Consensus Service, in pair with some of the AI tools out there. So whether it be AI Studio or whether it be the agent kit, what's it been like, and where do you see? I guess for me, I'm interested because I don't think there's a lot of networks out there that are competing with all of the tooling for AI right now. But what, from a builder standpoint, what does it look like for you to build on Hedera from the AI through the AI standpoint? Maybe expand on what you kind of.
Yeah, it's quite seamless. I don't know of, and I've done some development on other blocks. I don't know of a more straightforward way to translate agents to blockchain, connecting that with users than HCS. And HCS has a lot of different protocols within it. I love HCS2. You can use more complicated ones for different purposes, you know, different types of builds, but HCS2 is incredibly versatile. You know, you can do the indexed or the non-indexed, totally different results there. And yeah, particularly for me, the Hedera agent kit seems to just all work very well with that. But yeah, you could use different AI tooling, of course.
Well, what's coming next? It looks like you guys are really kind of building out a lot of different solutions and kind of creating a little bit of a flywheel effect within Linksify. Because I know I've had you guys on hackathons before, and all this stuff I'm sure ties in together. But I know I can see up above, and I'll give a soft plug here. I'm sure Ed will do a much better job at this for me. Hello Future Hackathon Apex, February 17th through March 16th. Are you participating in that? What are you looking forward to for the future? And 2026, it's hard to believe that we're in 2026 right now, but what does 2026 look like for Kevin, Linksify, and Keyring, and the different products you guys are building?
Yeah, well, definitely doing that. We hope to tie it all together now. We feel pretty good with Keyring as a solution, and now actually implementing it into our Links product, and you know, finding some other connections there within that. And then from there, hopefully expanding to some business solutions. You know, we'd love to get other projects on Keyring. We'd love to sponsor some sort of a hack build thing for builders to come up with their Keyring products, and just hopefully get more signers on there. And we're adding some different agent types on there too, to facilitate the different features we want to add. Like one of them will be rolling over. You know, being able to renew your list, that's another thing that agentic signers can allow, is they can automatically vote to then add new lists to users. Keeping it fresh and random makes it more secure, stuff like that.
Well, where can people reach out or find out more about you guys before I move on here, Kevin?
We definitely have a Discord, but you can find all of our info at linksify.xyz. We just put up a brand new website, and that's linksify with a Y, L-Y, linksify.xyz.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin. And yeah, definitely go and check out Linksify, and congratulations again. Arguably kind of arguably the biggest kind of topic recently, certainly agentic AI, A2A payments, transparency, verifiability, all that stuff. So Kevin, thank you. Another huge topic, obviously, DeFi and tokenization. I'm sure we're going to get into basically how all these topics tie together, but we have DT from MedQ with us today. And I'll ask the same boilerplate question to you, DT. Tell us a little bit about MedQ, what you built, what problem it solves. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. And congratulations, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me start with the story behind MedQ Quest. We realized that DeFi has a massive problem that the onboarding. For new user, DeFi is scary. The UI is complex, liquidity is fragmented, and beginners are afraid of making mistakes. So we ask ourselves, what if we turn DeFi into a game? We built MedQ Quest as a gamification layer on top of Hedera. Instead of reading boring documentation, users play a game. They accept a quest like swapping or providing liquidity and earn rewards. We are building a bridge to make the Hedera ecosystem is accessible, fun, and easy for everyone.
That's awesome. I think it's very important, obviously, too. One of the hardest things to do is to get people in any industry, I'm sure, to care about education, but especially in crypto, blockchain, and DLT. Number one, getting people to understand how to do certain things. So what better way to do that than by gamifying things? So I guess I'll kind of ask, how does the gamification work that you're building through MedQ? What's the user flow that you envision?
The user connect their wallet and then complete their profile. After the user complete the profile, the quest is automatically generated by AI. And then after quest generated by AI, user have to accept the quest and do the quest. After that, the user after user complete the quest, user have to submit proof transaction has on the platform. That's the user flow.
I would love if you could talk a little bit about the experience of building on Hedera, DT. Have you built on Hedera before? What type of Hedera tooling did you use? What was the experience like kind of in general to build on Hedera and to participate in this hackathon? And welcome, Ed. Hi.
It's excellent working on Hedera. For the MedQ Quest, we combine creativity with Hedera speed. Technically, our secret sauce relies on two things: the mirror node and the AI agent. First, the mirror node. In the game, speed is everything. We use Hedera mirror nodes to listen on chain events in real time. This allows us to verify user action instantly without waiting for long confirmation. And then secondly, yes, the ERC-8004 standard. We use this to create AI agent because Hedera is FM compatible, right? It was smooth to connect our AI logic with the blockchain. This allows us to automate quest generation based on market data.
I thought I was going to get through a podcast without muting myself, but here we are. Well, that's two track winners in a row, Ed, that I hear talking about the seamlessness of kind of the agentic tooling on Hedera, which I think is Awesome. And I would love, DT, if you could talk a little bit about what you're looking forward to for the future. Do you plan to continue building out what you've built, participating in the next hackathon, or where do you see MedQ going in the future here?
I think the future of MedQ is, our goal is to integrate all DeFi platform on Hedera into our Quest system, whether it is Social Swap, HeliSwap, or Liquid Staking protocol. We want MedQ Quest to be the single entry point for the entire ecosystem. And then we want to remove all manual steps on MedQ. Once user perform a swap or adds liquidity, our system will automatically detect the transaction via the mirror node and release the reward instantly. Seamless magic. After all, we should security and audit. Trust is priority number one. Before scaling, we will perform a smart contract audit to ensure our reward logic and agent are hack-proof. Yeah, after that, I think we want to launch the mainnet.
Awesome. Well, thank you, DT, and thank you to MedQ, and congratulations again on winning first prize for DeFi and tokenization. I think gamifying DeFi is really, really interesting. Ed, welcome up. I know that we had Kevin on before from Agentic AI, so AI and agents, Keyring and Linksify. And I know that Kevin's been in a few of these hackathons and talking about transparency of AI agents and kind of taking multi-sig to the next level. And we have MedQ here for gamifying DeFi. But Ed, we didn't have a chance to kind of do kind of the soft intro here. So, I mean, talk a little bit about what the experience was like with Ascension, the builders and everything else. We have the winners up here today. And yeah, thank you so much for joining today, Ed.
Absolutely. No, thank you everyone who participated here, and congratulations once more to all these winners. I think this Ascension hackathon was a spectacular occasion for hackers to experiment and show us their innovation and their creativity and the problems that they're thinking about and solving with everything that they're building. And for those watching, Ascension is just the second chapter of that three-part series of hackathons that we have for the Hedera ecosystem that kicked off back in 2025. And then we have the third chapter coming up in just a few weeks. So that's going to continue in 2026. Looking forward to welcoming new hackers and also seeing many of these amazing projects and winners come back for that grand finale of the Hello Future series. Now, yes, we as mentors, we got to experience firsthand the incredible resilience, innovation, and all the different characteristics of these hackers building on the network. And it's great to put the tooling available to them and see, what they're able to build with the tooling, with the solutions that the Hedera ecosystem provides. Because really, the layer one and the network, that's what we are. We're just the tooling, the technology protocol, but the amazing things come from the actual builders and the developers that tackle those problems in the areas of DeFi, tokenization, AI, sustainability, and so much more. And so, yeah, I mean, happy to hear more about the different winners and the different tracks. So back to you, Solomon.
Awesome. Well, I keep saying that each track topic is super important because they all are, and they're all going to tie into each other anyway. So we started with agentic AI and agents. Then we had kind of gamification with DeFi and tokenization. Sustainability, I think, is one that's maybe a lot of people don't think is as sexy as like some of the other kind of really crypto-y type stuff. But at the end of the day, like everything on the entire planet is moving towards kind of a greener economy. And this is one where I've mentioned personally, my personal beliefs are it's kind of hard to compete with Hedera from whether it be Guardian or just kind of sustainability in general. So the overall winner of the sustainability track in the Ascension Hackathon was Charge Frog. So we have Jimmy up here with us today, bottom right of my screen here. Jimmy, I would love if you could maybe just talk about what you guys built, the problem, the solution, and how you guys leveraged Hedera. And yeah, thanks for joining today. And congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me. And our team is super excited to be the winner of the sustainability track. So the backstory of like why our team built Charge Frog is that first our team found out that the Europe's rapid EV adoption is like somehow outpacing the charging infrastructure that currently available at the region, and also that the current like EV charging infra is quite unevenly distributed. Is one of the things that we included into our core design of the end model. But we think that the friction still on the high cost and barrier to start investing, and also the most important question like we are trying to solve is the carbon market credibility kind of crisis. So this is the reason our team built ChargeFrog. So ChargeFrog, we structured it and designed it into something like a community-led carbon negative EV charging network on Hedera. So what we did is that we let all the stations, they are all fractionalized into ERC 1400 and ERC 3643, which is like a very common tokenization standard. We make it dual standard and compliance with the Reg S digital securities regulations. So we somehow like unlocking a compliant micro investment and like a pro rate revenue sharing to everyone, which comes out to the community-led kind of like model. So how it works in the simplest state is that the network users will pay like on-chain credits for a transparent charging economy, while investor will decide on how the network scale. So for example, investor able to decide which location will be the next one to plant a ChargeFrog EV station. So, and we also have the core, which is the Guardian powered digital MRV system. So which automatically mints and retires carbon from NFTs. So you can somehow understand it as like a carbon offset thing, but able to verify it on chain and eliminate something called greenwashing. So everything that we design, all the features, we pack it into a super app because UX is the most important thing we think. So we unify all of the action into a very seamless experience that can access on mobile. So enable everyone to like interact directly with our custom engineer stations that you can see in our demo video. We have a pilot station that is actually working and able to charge, interact with like actions on the Hedera network throughout Europe. So this is all about our project, ChargeFrog.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, and I think it's one of the areas, like I mentioned, that is just going to become more and more prevalent as far as how people are using blockchain distributed ledger. And it's amazing to me that I don't, I guess I see some projects trying to tackle it. I mean, notably Dovu on Hedera is obviously using Guardian and the greenwashing and everything else, but I think it's awesome. And when you say super app, so talk about that. Like what is the user experience like? Are they going to know that they're using blockchain? Whenever you have like kind of the final version of what you've built here, do you think people will even know they're using blockchain, or they're just going to be using an awesome app and getting rewarded in X, Y, and Z?
Okay, this is quite like a important question when we are trying to design like how our app is like how it will look like and how the user journey is in our super app, because like EV charging kind of infrastructure in Web2 space is quite nurtured. All of the users are used to the traditional way of interacting with the EV infrastructure, and plus with a mobile app. So when we are trying to design that, we also minimize like the friction of using Web3, especially when doing like a Web2 kind of like EV charging stuff. So when we are doing like wallet connection stuff, purchasing, like swapping charging credits and charging your EV, start to like the whole charging process, and also how to browse through all of the investment options and eventually claim your revenue distribution. Everything is just like we control it in like a few steps that you just press the buttons and you basically did everything. But we also wanted to focus, like especially at the later stage, we also wanted to improve those kind of UX so that we can do something like account abstraction to actually let them use the Web3 EV charging kind of like super app, but they still feel like they are using a Web2 one. So the onboarding is the most important focus, at least at the later stage.
I would love if you could touch base on what your experience was like to leverage Hedera Guardian and some of the tooling on Hedera.
Yeah, so we know like Hedera have like a full suite of like tech doing different things that able to like support a lot of complex use case. And I would say our team, one of the reasons that our team started to build on Hedera is that it support both two core ideas that we are solving. So the first one is a DMRV that we able to mint carbon frogs, which is like carbon offset kind of NFT. And we choose Hedera Guardian for this because if we only choose like an EVM that have smart contracts, everything is just about like value passing around smart contracts. But the carbon offset claims we can't actually verify the carbon offset claim, but Hedera Guardian able to do that, so that we're able to like mean VCVP pair to prove that we actually offset that thing, and we're able to retire it to leave like a trail on chain. So basically the whole EV network charging activity is proof on Hedera Guardian, which is the strong part. And the second thing our team use is that the asset tokenization things on Hedera, especially the studio, and we're porting out like a custom version this time for ChargeFrog. And I will say that although the setup is quite challenging at first, I will say, but it is worth to set up like a custom instance at our site. And right now, everything is running very successfully. So I would say the experience so far is like seamless.
So I know I'm a big acronym guy. So when you say DMRV, so that people aren't aware, digital measurement, reporting, and verification. We should do like a quiz at the end of these sometimes. And so what DMRV essentially does is it enhances sustainability by using digital technology such as remote sensing, AI, blockchain for real-time, transparent, and accurate tracking of environmental data. And greenwashing falls right along with that. There's a lot of fraud in the kind of the carbon credit space. And obviously blockchain distributed ledger is going to alleviate a lot of that, create new value mechanisms out of a lot of that. All right, Jimmy, I'll stop rambling. What are you excited about for the future? Do you plan on continuing the path forward with ChargeFrog here? You said you already have kind of one instance of this. Are you going to participate in the next hackathon here? And
yeah, so definitely we will participate in the next stage as the momentum in our intern team keep going, keep pushing. And we have our first instance, yes, and it's super cool. And the next focus probably will start porting some of our features to the mainnet, and we'll keep testing feedback because this is it is very hard to start off, especially EV charging, and have like IoT integration, especially like a hardware of like an EV charging station. So we'll keep our momentum to test the feedback from our users and keep improving, and probably will bring up some of the AI kind of pipeline to help the community to choose the next location of the network. So to boost up the scaling, and also we will try to open source some of the part, which will keep it a secret right now, but we'll open source some of the part that able to let the community or the open source community to improve further, like how we integrate those kind of EV charging infrastructure on a blockchain instance. Yeah.
So Ed, I would love your thoughts because I hear a lot of similar things from every winner and every builder up here. When you think about sustainability or even DeFi and tokenization or agentic AI, there seems to be like a flywheel effect in Hedera from the services and product standpoint at the kind of the infrastructure level. So even just Jimmy right there mentioned that they leveraged Guardian, they leveraged Asset Tokenization Studio. They were planning on using AI tooling. it's pretty awesome to kind of hear people using different pieces of tooling across, and then even customizing them for themselves. I mean, that's the whole point, right? But I would love your thoughts, Ed, on that.
I couldn't agree more, and it's excellent to see people moving up the stack, right? Because there's obviously the protocol, which is fantastic, and then there's SDKs that is almost the most basic building block that developers have, but it's really powerful, and I think the speed in the ability to build really takes off when people start going up the stack and using these studios like the asset tokenization studio, like the Guardian, to build more robust, more complex solutions that enable solving those market problems in a better way, right? Like having the policies of the Guardian integrated here, or the abilities and capabilities of the asset tokenization studio integrated in a solution, are fantastic. And so I really appreciate what this project has done, integrating multiple concepts and capabilities of Web3, right? Like community-driven governance, tokenization, DMRV, to solve a real market problem. The fact that the grid cannot keep up with the demand and growth of EVs. And so that's certainly the type of thing that we want to see. And if, the hackers, the winners have feedback on how can we continue to provide those tools that make your life easier, maybe things and solutions on top of the studios, maybe integrations with AI agents for the studios, please give us that feedback, because those are the tools that we want to invest in and develop for the developer ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think, moving to our next, and thank you, Jimmy, so much, and congratulations, by the way. Looking forward to seeing all of the future innovation. On the topic of sustainability, I mean, moving forward onto Edge and Internet of Things infrastructure, or I know in crypto we love terms. So DePIN, I think this is super interesting. I think DePIN is an area where probably in the long run has probably the most impact on blockchain and distributed ledger adoption, just because, think about how many people have cell phones but aren't tied into some sort of system. So, Algo Air, I would love to hear, Henry, about what you guys built, what problem you guys are solving. If you want to share screen, because I know you loaded something up, we talked about that before, please feel free to do so. But what'd you build? And yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, Ryan. So I'm Henry, and I'm from Aware. So the story behind our product is that we live in Hanoi, and is one of the most polluted city in the world. So we on our city is on the rank 1 or rank 2 on the top global. So we want to know the identity, and we can see why. So we come to the problem is that spare and accurate data. So government sensor can cover every neighborhood. So with only 10 official stations for a city of 8 million people in Hanoi, hyperlocal pollution hotspot from traffic and construction are completely missed, and it's with zero trust and transparency. So current data come from a centralized black box system. There's no way to verify if a reading is accurate or has been entered, and no community incentive. That's why we build a decentralized network for trusted air quality data. So how it works, we first community member and business set up our air sensor, and then every data reading is immutable logged on the Hedera blockchain, and then contributor will earn token for building the network, and everyone gain access to the trusted line map and the API. So that is our product.
That's awesome. No, and I think wow, I did not know that. So in Hanoi, 10 sensor stations for how many people? 10 million people, you said?
Yeah, it's 8 to 10. I don't.
Wow. So yeah, and I mean, one thing that, when you talk about air quality, I mean, that's directly correlated to every single person and their health on a daily basis. So, if you have more accurate or more transparent data is obviously going to lead to more accurate data. So if you have accurate data, it's going to affect how people literally live their everyday lives. So I think it's awesome. I would love if you could talk. Luis, I see you down there. I really want to share my screen to share what they built, but talk about what products you used on Hedera, what tooling you used on Hedera, and what the experience was like.
So we active use the Hedera consensus service, as the core infrastructure for the project. So the air quality data collected from the sensor is submitted to the Hedera consensus service, where it's immutable, timestamp, and order created time per proof public records that everyone can verify, and it's very cheap. This allows our to establish the data integrity and trust, a critical requirement for our environment and public health use case. Also, we using the Hedera token service to reward the sensor operator, data contributor, and community validator.
Oh man, I keep muting my mic. What do you kind of envision AlgoAir, like what you guys have built here, kind of the future iteration of something like this? Will this be going through people's cell phones? Will this be going through people's, like, what devices will people be using to basically timestamp, or not? I don't want to say timestamp, that's not the wrong word, but to submit a consensus message basically of accurate data is, I guess, the way of putting it.
Yeah, it's really portable, so people can bring the air quality sensor into everywhere you go. You can put it into the office, or you can bring it into your home, and it will tracking the air quality and submit to the blockchain.
So what are your plans? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, it's finished. It's about a body buy. In conclusion.
So what are your plans here for the future? Do you plan on continuing this with the sensors? I mean, I know that we've heard from all the other builders that, you know, so many different types of tooling are being used, and there's probably, I'm kind of interested because, like, I think like use cases like this, like I think the crypto blockchain distributed ledger open up so many ways to incentivize good actions. Like I almost put it in a way where it's like when you go to the doctor's office and the doctor's like, hey, do you smoke? And they're like, well, smoking's unhealthy, you shouldn't do that. And then somebody's like, okay, well, I'm going to just keep doing it because there's no incentive to stop. Same thing with like kind of tracking and just public good type aspects, which are like, I'm going to monitor air quality. Like if there was a small level of incentivization within that, people might, you know, actually do it and contribute to a better kind of society. But what are your thoughts for the future here? What are you looking forward to in 2026? Do you plan on continuing with the next hackathon?
Yeah, for sure. So we are during the hackathon, we finished our MVP, and we plan to release the functional prototype in Q1 2026 and release launch public on this summer. So awesome. I think I will catch up with the next hackathon.
Well, I would love if Ed, if you touch base on, I mean, all of this stuff just ties into each other. All of these tracks tie in with each other. But when we talk about Edge and Internet of Things and DePIN, I'm not going to say infrastructure after DePIN because I think that might be redundant. But DePIN, what do you think, Ed? What do you think that looks like? Are we headed towards a future where our devices kind of open up all sorts of pathways and new sorts of communication and new sorts of, you know, better society, better air quality, stuff like that? Like, it's just, I think it's a super fascinating one. And obviously from the Hedera Council standpoint, there's overlap there with some of the members in Edge infrastructure. I think of Dell rings a bell, but what are your thoughts, Ed, in general? Because I will keep rambling if you don't stop me.
Sure thing. So one thing that I love from every submission here is that the guys that we have in the call, the guys and girls, and, you know, also the ones that joined us participating, you guys are propelling that flywheel that will drive network effects for the adoption of the technology, but not just because of the, you know, benefits of the technologies. It's to solve actual problems, right? We don't want this technology to be adopted just because. We want it to be adopted to really solve problems in a meaningful way. And the common element that I saw, you know, I joined a few minutes past the start, but everything relies on providing better solutions for the users, for the end users, right? That's how you start that flywheel. And so when I think about decentralized infrastructure, when I think about decentralized finance, I think that's all going to come and ultimately give us, you know, more efficient solutions that are more accessible to people that perhaps today don't have that access. And the great thing is you also benefit from the activity of those users on your products on this network. And so you open access, but you also benefit from the inflow of those users and the new ideas that come perhaps through the new governance, you know, the feedback that you get from those markets that were not served or reached before. And so I think it's a virtuous cycle of better solutions and better ideas because of, you know, that additional inclusion and reach that we can have with the solutions that we build in the Web3 space. So yeah, I think so far it's been awesome to see all these projects having that common element of propelling that flywheel that will drive those network effects with everything that these folks are building here.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, just as we're seeing now after years of proof of concepts in finance and banking, you know, adoption of distributed ledger, blockchain, DLT, that's this same exact thing is going to happen through the sustainability lens. And that's going to start at the ground level. That comes from grassroots builders building out and making it easier for the enterprise and institutions to like rapidly prototype. Obviously, vibe coding is probably going to play a huge role in that too. And I mean, I just look at it as a huge opportunity where, like, you know, it's hard to lead a horse to water and get it to drink. But if it is like right there in front of people and they can see the value, I mean, I think a lot of the solutions being built right now from the sustainability lens or the DePIN and IoT lens are going to be like white labeled into enterprises or I mean, a lot of people are going to probably make a lot of money from building out some really cool platforms here. But I get excited about this. I'm rambling. I'm going to move into the open track here. And we've got I'm going to mispronounce. I get so bad with pronunciation.
Ontologic.
Ontologic. Thanks.
No worries.
Sonic, Nick, tell us what you built, problem and solution. I know this was an open track, so you kind of had a lot of stuff at your disposal and you could do whatever you want. So tell us what you built here.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Sonic, Nick Altemeyer on LinkedIn if you want to connect with me, or hit me up on X at Open2Suggest if you want to help with what I'm working on here. But I am the builder behind Ontologic. You know, I got to shout out the big man upstairs first. You know, he gave me the design and I just walked through it. But yeah, we're building proof of reasoning infrastructure. So it's going to be for robots, sensors, humans, agents. Basically, the core idea is simple. Right now, as a lot of people have been talking to on this call, you know, a lot of what agents do or what, you know, governments do or whatever a sensor's data is coming out, it's a black box, right? We can't see it. There's not really a receipt. There's not really a trail of why. And my question, you know, has always been why, right? And now that I'm thinking about like a way to create proof of reasoning, that's what Ontologic is. It's basically a way to have three different, you submit the rule that you want to check against, you check the rule, and then you attest to the meaning. That's basically what it is. And I didn't design any of these philosophical theories, right? These are great philosophers that I'm referencing. I just kind of put it together. But basically, it's anything that needs to show why it did what it did, whether you want to attest onto a private sphere or if you want to attest onto the public ledger. That's what Ontologic is for. So right now we're at an MVP stage, but we're building out to eventually launch, ideally, an SDK.
So I have a question for you. Just more so just curiosity standpoint. I think that we're hopefully headed towards a future where the data that even goes into some of the training models like LLMs like has some sort of a scrubbing process prior to, like, I think that's one of the issues right now when we look at like OpenAI and things like that. We have no idea what even goes into their models to spit out an answer when we type something in. Is it making us think a different way? Is it even giving me correct information? How many times you see on Twitter, I think one of the problems on crypto Twitter is somebody types in a question and then prompts it to give them the answer that they want. And it's just like, this is not the purpose of AI. Or, I mean, I guess AI is whatever you make of it, but how meaningful is data? If you're talking about proof of reasoning, how important is it that you guys in the future, through what you guys are building, make sure that the data that you guys are putting into that proof of reasoning model is accurate, is authentic, like things like that? It's just kind of a random question I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, right now, like you called out, an LLM or an agent, whenever it acts, you just have to trust the output. So the goal of Ontologic is to invert that lens, and you can examine the input, you can examine the inference, and you can examine the result. So it makes every step of the reasoning process transparent. Now, yeah, you have to trust that the agent, you know, is attesting honestly in the first place, but as the user, as the operator, you can create your smart contract with hard-coded rules, you know, assign your rule registry. And if the logic that the agent is printing out doesn't exactly match the logic that you've required hard-coded in your contract, it fails. The transaction doesn't go through. It doesn't grant the token. Therefore, it can't proceed to the next step. So right now we're working in this color, and to kind of answer your question, Ryan, we're working in this color domain with light. So one example would be like, if you and I look at a color on a wall, right, of light, we might agree that it looks like the same color, but we can't necessarily prove that we were looking at the same color. There's no way to really tell, right? And in the same space, I don't know if you guys have heard about this recent research report that came out about Olo. It's a new color that you get from stimulating only the middle lenses of your eyes.
No.
It's pretty cool. Check it out. It's like laser activated photon receptors in your eyes. And it's a teal beyond what you can see. It's an unnatural color of teal that only exists in theoretical space. But we could prove that an agent can reason about this theoretical thing that doesn't even exist because it's referring to this grounded thing and that grounded thing and that grounded thing. So the inference comes from hard data, and it's also attesting to what data it pulled from. So for example, Seal Square would be someone that I'd love to sit down with and talk to them, like as they're continuing to build out these, quantum proof, quantum resistant technologies. How could we find a way to attest to that, whether it's in a private sphere or public? And basically figure out that agents can trust that data, that it's a trustless form of data, and that we have provenance, right? Right now we have trustlessness with no provenance, and that's not cool with me. So I kind of want to build something that gives us a way to hold people accountable if we need to, or agents accountable, or companies accountable, or governments accountable, right? I think the people need transparency, and that's what we're working to solve.
I would love if you could touch base like right now on like the tooling, the different types of tooling. What was, I guess, the experience building on Hedera? What was the tooling like to kind of leverage it for what you guys are building through Ontologic? And where do you see that going in the future? Are there things that you would want to see? I guess is a question that I haven't asked yet from a tooling standpoint, and just maybe broad experience. Yep.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Hedera is the only chain where this stack is even possible. We needed deterministic smart contracts, we needed consensus ordered messaging, and we needed native token minting in one flow. Only Hedera has that. Oh, with 2 to 3, 4 or 5 second finality, by the way. So HCS and HTS aren't add-ons to what we're building. They are why the idea of the morpheme works. And so that's ideally the developer experience hasn't yet applied to anyone but me, but for myself, I've had a great time. The resources available, the bot on the Discord has got me through some tough times. There was all sorts of people that reached out. I worked with Kevin, he answered questions and talked to me and sat down with me for no reason. And I just had a really great time building on Hedera. Everything that I needed was available, and the Hedera hive mind was there. I was like, I didn't even really know a lot of the stuff that I was kind of looking at, but I was like, hey, we'll figure it out together. And I had the resources I needed. So yeah, building on Hedera was wonderful. What would I want? What would I want to see? It's tough to say. I don't really know. As someone who's new to development, I'm coming over from financial services, was my background before, and fintech. So, I'm not really sure what developers would need, but I'm open to figuring it out.
Yeah, no, I think it's super interesting where, I kind of look at what's there, and this is just my personal opinion. I kind of look at it as this like playground, I guess. Like if I were a developer, I would want to, a goal of mine has been to like learn how to code and stuff in my free time, which I just haven't gotten to that yet. But if I were a developer, I would look at like all of the different like stack like areas of the technology and like just start messing with like as much as I possibly could. And I think that from what you just said, Nick, like we need more people coming from fintech, coming from traditional areas. I think Patches, and for those that aren't aware, Patches Hashgraph, obviously legend. He mentioned this before. Like if you go out into the traditional world and look at even AI for an example, maybe 2% of traditional AI businesses, like in some way, shape, or form, are leveraging like blockchain right now, which literally, but his opinion, which I kind of agree with, is blockchain distributed ledger provide that authenticity layer, which is almost going to be critical moving forward. So then you got to look, okay, if 2% are using it, that's 98% of the world that's leveraging AI is going to need to use blockchain. That's a gigantic opportunity. So I think we need more people coming over from traditional. And this is what's really going to start kind of sparking out the use cases that not only create public goods, which I think are super important, but create real business model, which I think, given crypto and blockchain's history, is equally as important. So thank you so much, Nick. Ed, do you have any comments on Nick and what he built?
I do. Thank you, Ryan, and congrats, Nick. It was really an amazing solution, and hearing you articulate the problem and the solution that you thought about, it was phenomenal. And one thing that I would like to say is provenance is extremely important, right? And AI, I love the solution that you built, because in AI, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And so understanding why the decisions were made, what was the origin of the data, but also being able to connect the dots into a certain outcome is going to be something that is going to be a requirement in the future for all AI that we're going to end up using. And especially if things go wrong, right? I think when, AI is maybe having a hallucination that is not um, impactful in a negative way, or maybe things aren't working well, yeah, the provenance becomes a nice to have. But I think in the future, as the lines get blurred between reality and things that are AI generated, I think that provenance is going to become front and center and critical. And provenance doesn't just apply to AI, right? I think that the opportunity goes even beyond AI. I think AI has a very strong motive and driver behind it. But think about where you source your groceries, right? Where does your meat come from when it says it's organic? I think we need that provenance everywhere throughout our supply chain, just to give you an example. And that applies to other industries and verticals. But I do agree, Ryan and Sonic. I think AI is going to be a fantastic set of problems that we can solve with that trust layer that blockchain provides.
Thank you
So
for having me on.
Yeah,
I got
Nick,
one more question for you, Ryan.
Go for it.
Now that I've got you cornered, you have to answer me because we're live on stage. Where did you get the Christmas sweater with the H bar symbol, dude?
So I actually DM'd this group like literally like a week ago, because I bought that. I bought it as an NFT. So this was during Elizabeth Hello Future Live. She passed away, unfortunately, so rest in peace, Elizabeth. She used to host these kind of charity events every Christmas. So I think this was in 2021, which was right after I think NFTs went live on Hedera mainnet. And I bought the NFT. They made a run of sweaters. There's actually pictures. It's NFTEES. They still have a Twitter account, but I don't think that they've been making the sweaters recently. There's actually pictures of Lehman like opening a Hedera holiday sweater and stuff. But I DM'd them a week ago, and you can reach out to me after this. I think you have the email from the calendar invite now. We'll try to convince them to do it. I DM'd them a week ago, and I'm like, you guys would make a killing if you just got back into the sweater game. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, that's where I got it. So thank you, Nick, and huge congratulations. We're going to move into Legacy Boaters right now, which is our last track, and congratulations to Dennis through Torch. This is going to be really interesting too, because I think that over the past couple of years specifically, we've really seen the rise of what prediction markets represents. It's almost, to me, I guess the best way I kind of describe it is, because I think a lot of people misinterpret it. I think it's almost like you get a better viewpoint of forecasting when people have to put their money where their mouth is. So I would love if you can kind of touch base on the problem that you saw, the solution, what you've built, and yeah, thank you, Dennis, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be here, and above all, I want to thank you for this wonderful event, and shout out for the team, Sebastian, Kathleen, and Hatif. It was great to have two iterations because we started in the first origins phase, and didn't get that much attention, and we just thought that the problem we're solving is so huge that everybody needs to know. So we went for the second take, and it worked. So thank you for this experience. And yeah, prediction markets are everywhere. I mean, you get billion valuations. It's on Coinbase app, and it's all over the place. But if you look at what it is under the hood, it's all based on that 10-year-old white paper that's called Conditional Token Framework, built by a German gentleman I met this summer for a project that existed then. For crypto specifically, if you wanted to know like what will be the price of Bitcoin in a week, you can't do this. There are questions like, by the end of the year, will it be above 100K, etc. And then if you move dates, if you move ranges, if you move any outcomes, it all falls apart, right? So you need to recreate the market. And the idea was, what if we make it continuous? Is it feasible? What insights can it bring? and all of a sudden you get this beautiful price time probability map that distributes into the future and gives you sort of a torch, hence the name, into the price trajectory, and you know much more, and you can use it in trading.
I think what's really interesting to me is, well, first and foremost, I think it solves a problem where most people that are new that come into crypto and blockchain do things maybe that they wouldn't do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years after they've come into crypto and blockchain. I remember when I first got into crypto, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I was using like sites that were like, what's the price of Bitcoin going to go to? It's like just literally random prices, any site you went to. You can't tell if it's like paid for and all this other stuff. But what I think is really interesting here is, you know, there's data analysis firms out there that will take it from like social metrics, so almost like fundamental analysis, and then there's obviously TA and technical analysis. What you do, well, at least I'm assuming here, what you built essentially combines both of those, because but it also puts like a stake on the back end where it's like you almost have to, like, the data you're going to get is just going to be much more authentic by having a prediction market that like forecasts out. You're just going to get a much more accurate representation of what's going on. So I think it's really cool. I would love if you could maybe touch base on what areas of Hedera technology you used to build it, and what the experience was like, especially over the kind of the history of building on Hedera through a few of these hackathons.
I have to confess that I'm not the tech person on the team, so I'd rather follow up on why this is actually working.
Please,
you can use like tools like funding rates for perpetuals that will give you like over 60% probability within the next 2 hours, and that is like proven on historical data. You could use powerful AI models, which will give you, you know, certain extent. But then you could have somebody just knowing the team member in a project that is going to centralize exchange within this, on this date, within this price range, and that's alpha that is totally off chain, right? How do you combine all the sources together? You know, smart people, insiders, whoever, and that's where information finance principles allows, where it aligns incentives to surface a specific valuable information, in our case future token price, right? So even if you want to manipulate and you bring like few mils and say, oh, the token price will be that, there will be a larger fish that will just come and eat your money. So there is game theory behind it, which is geared towards truth, and that's the beauty of it.
100%. Ed, I would love it. Any thoughts that you have when you see kind of some really innovative use cases coming out, like what they built through Torch?
I think it's worth highlighting the innovation and also a huge market opportunity with the prediction markets. I recently, I saw this solution, and then it inspired me to go and look at the prediction markets that exist today that are centralized. You don't get a lot of insights. The value of, or the signal to noise ratio is very low. I think there's mostly noise in those centralized prediction market platforms. And I think what the team has done here by bringing AI into the mix and, keeping that signal to noise ratio much higher, much more focused, focusing on the price of tokens and that discovery, I think it's really fascinating. And again, it's all about those network effects, right? Enabling people to have new alternatives that are going to be more valuable, solving those problems, because people want to predict, people want to be able to put, like Ryan said, put their money, where their mouth is. And I think this is a fantastic platform enabled by Hedera and blockchain to be able to do that.
Yeah, and also win when they're right. That's the
right.
important part.
What's next for Torch, Dennis? Are you guys going to participate in the next hackathon here, kind of the culmination? And what are you looking forward to for 2026 and beyond?
Absolutely, yeah. I think this track will only rise, and our nearest goal is to go from technology to adoption and actually try to source every information there is in Hedera ecosystem to actually get this price, evaluate the performance, if it's right or not, shaped it, and imagine having this more reliable information. It could be used by traders anywhere. You could have it as an indicator in your trading view screen, for example, etc. So the future is bright. Yeah.
100%. Well, I want to mention, Ed, we're probably going to do a closing thoughts with you here in a second, but we got a lot of comments down here. And one of the comments I think is, which programming language, which is, I guess, a pretty relevant question, given recently, I know Java's been around forever, but Python, and there's some new coding languages here. Which programming languages, Ed, would be best to use to develop within Hedera? So JavaScript, Go, Python, etc.
It's a very relative question. I'm hesitant to say it depends, but it's very relative, right? I think if you're a starter, if you're trying to onboard, I think either the Python SDK or the JavaScript SDK are fantastic for beginners, and they integrate with a very broad set of frameworks and systems. I mean, JavaScript is everywhere or almost everywhere that has some sort of UI, everywhere on the web. So I think that's a fantastic place to start. And then if you're new, I would certainly recommend you check out the Hedera Playground. Just Google that, Hedera Playground. And it's a really intuitive way to build that mental model of working with these SDKs with transactions and queries, because it's all on your browser. You can deploy your first transaction in literally seconds. And that Playground supports Java, JavaScript, and Rust. Rust is a bit more of an advanced language, but also would recommend it if you have that experience, you have that familiarity, and you're looking for speed in your application and efficiency in your programming. So yeah, I think just to recap, Hedera does have the EVM compatibility side. So everything that you know with Solidity and the existing frameworks, you can bring that to Hedera. And then if you're coming from the traditional world, whether that's embedded software or traditional finance or web development, you can take the SDKs that Hedera provides and start developing with those as well. So Java, JavaScript, Go, Python, Rust, Swift, and C++.
I know there's another question here, and then we'll ramp down. And there's a bunch of comments here saying congratulations to the winners. So congratulations to all the winners. I think maybe the last question here, Ed, maybe for you from the community would be, are there any upcoming, and there's always updates, I should preface, but are there any upcoming updates on native SDK tooling or standardized APIs to facilitate L2 payment rails or point of sale integrations? That's kind of a really specific question, but Ed, if you want to tackle it.
Yeah, sure. It is very specific. I'll focus on the first part. Like you said, Ryan, there's always new updates coming, especially to the native side of the protocol, to the APIs. And so a few things that I would love to highlight, and we're going to cover more of these and go really deep in the technical community calls and the community calls. But I would highlight Hyro hooks. So that's something that we're bringing to Hedera as well. And hooks, what they will enable is additional programmability for accounts. We're starting with an account allowance hook. And so that will allow you to create a little bit of logic for the behavior that your accounts can have. So for example, just to give you a very basic example, you can use that account allowance hook to say, look, after I receive 10 transfer per day, then start rejecting at the 11th transfer, right? So it opens very interesting doors. Or maybe reject all the transactions that are transfers to my account under one HBAR, just to give you another example. So it's bringing that layer of programmability to those native entities, and it's all at the native level. So that's going to be fantastic. And I think that does apply to the payment space. But, once the hooks are out and once we have more enablement materials, I think we can focus it more on that question.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and then there's additional hips. I'm trying to think. I think we're simplifying the price model as well. Just making it much clearer with documentation and simplifying the way the transactions are charged. But yeah, I would probably stop there with updates that are coming up that are pretty exciting.
So that takes the last question out, which I was going to probably just walk us back anyway. But Hedera has been added to Google BigQuery. I would say the question leads into what are the next milestones. So for next milestones, I would recommend, as Ed mentioned, there are technical calls every single month, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think Jay and Ash do those.
Fermin is organizing those with Luis. I typically moderate those, and we bring experts from the community, also from Hashgraph, contributors that are adding code and adding features to Hyro and Hedera. So I wouldn't miss those if you want to stay on top of what's happening at the protocol level and the ecosystem level as well.
So let's walk us out here, Ed. I mean, awesome with the Hello Future Hackathon, the kind of trilogy here, Origins, Ascension, and now Apex. What is Apex? I know that that's coming up, and then maybe just I think this is the first bigger podcast that we've done in 2026. So what else are you excited about? I know HederaCon is coming up in Miami. Things that we probably just have to mention here, but I mean, what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? And then maybe walk us out here, Ed. And thank you from my standpoint to all of the participants. It's been awesome interviewing you guys as usual.
I do want to echo that big thank you for the winners, for all the hackers that joined us. I mean, this event was for you guys, and you guys certainly knocked it out of the park with the quality and the volume of submissions that we received. So that's always amazing to see, to start, creating those network effects, that education, that awareness about the technology and the problems that we can solve with this. And so the things that I'm excited about, just in February, we're going to have that Apex Hackathon on February 17th. It's going to go on for a whole month. So please come back. I think it's going to be bigger prize pool. We're always working on new incentives for side quests, making it more fun, more engaging, but also more helpful and more valuable for the hackers, right? So certainly we'll want to welcome the winners and new hackers for that. Also happening in February, we have Hedera Dev Day. So if you're going to be at Denver or at ETH Denver, join us for that Dev Day, because that's going to be a day packed with talks, with hands-on workshops. We're going to even have side quests and scavenger hunts for fun. So that's going to be, I think, a highlight if you want to stay informed about everything happening at the protocol level and above, right? The things that you could build with all the technology stack pieces of Hedera. And then, like you said, HederaCon in May, that's going to be May 4th in Miami with Consensus. So it's going to be co-located. So you have an opportunity to go to just more than just Hedera Day or HederaCon. That's going to be, I think, an absolute highlight that is going to reflect on the entire industry. We're going to have panels and talks of experts. And so stay tuned for the agenda of that. And then kind of bringing it back to a specific topic that I'm very excited about is going to be hooks, just to see what people will do and build with those hooks. And so I think they're going to be available on the Hedera mainnet by the time the next hackathon starts. So stay tuned for that, and looking forward to seeing what you all build with those hooks.
Well, I will say that brings us to the close of the Hello Future Ascension Hackathon. What we saw today was definitely a strong signal of where the Hedera network is heading. Just a huge feedback loop and kind of this flywheel effect of all of the network tooling. Builders clearly moving beyond experimentation phase. So to everybody that participated, not just the winners, because I know that there was multiple winners. These were just the overall winners. Want to give a huge congratulations. And honestly, even congratulations if you didn't win. It takes a lot to get out of your comfort zone and to go and build something and submit it. And I think we just need more and more of that, and I'm sure we'll see it. This marks the second chapter, as I mentioned, of the Hello Future Hackathon Trilogy. The final chapter is above, so scan that barcode if you're interested in learning more about Apex. Thank you to the builders, mentors, organizers, and everyone who joined us today, and we will see you in the next chapter.